friends, I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of people posting their take on if they had $1,000 to spend at Sephora. I first watched this with the creator of this tag, which was Emily Noel. I freaking love her. I will link her video down below if you want to go back to her channel and see where it all started. But essentially the premise is living your fantasy life. If you had $1,000 to just blow at Sephora, what would you purchase? This really pulled me in because one, I feel like the beauty space is very different now where people aren't doing a lot of hauls where they purchase products entirely of their own choosing. It's become more things that they're sent, or they might occasionally buy a thing here or there. So I'm really intrigued to hear people's thoughts, and I've really enjoyed watching it. And I also started to think about, what if I had $1,000? That's a really weird thing for me to think about. Because even though I love beautiful things and I'm very much a sensory person, I always am very grounded in practicality because I can't afford to live a super wealthy lifestyle in this way. So even though I do, splurge here or there or have excess of certain things, I'm not sure I would ever be able to go to Sephora in my regular life and spend $1,000. So I sat down and I didn't spend $1,000. I spent $997 to be exact. And I put together a list of 13 items. It's a little disturbing to think that just 13 items got me to $997 exactly, but it is what it is. I tried very much to not be overly practical, but to have a good balance of fantasy things and also some practical things. So let's go ahead and talk about them. So essentially what I did was I first went in and I just thought of products that I've always liked but would never actually buy, or things that I have recently intrigued me, and then I went back and reorganized everything so it would be easy for this video. So we'll start with skincare products. I don't know about you guys, but I have been really pulled into the revamping that Sephora did to their skincare line in particular. I noticed that they clearanced out a lot of their items and they rolled out a new collection. I feel like it's been about a year, and there are a number of products that I have been pulled into, but I've tried really, really hard to not excessively purchase skincare. So even though these items aren't super pricey, I just haven't pulled the trigger because there hasn't been a distinctive need for them. The first one is the Sephora Brightening Eye Cream. It is said to hydrate and depuff. It retails for $17. This intrigues me because you guys know I'm always on the lookout for the ideal eye cream, but I've never pulled the trigger on this because I also am not super experimental with eye creams. I've been bitten in the butt by eye creams, and if they're not super intensely hydrating, I experience the immediate cons of that right away. My eyes punish me. So now that I've found one that works really well, I'm not super apt to experiment and try something that maybe won't work. And every time I've thought to buy a new under eye cream, it's been in the winter months when I'm not looking to do any kind of jeopardizing with the temperament of my under eyes. So I think that in the future, maybe during the summer, if I'm out of eye cream, I probably would pick this one up to try it. For me, it's more the hydration I'm looking for. The depuffing, I don't really think I struggle with. So that's also why I've hesitated a little bit to buy it just on a whim, because I'm not sure if it's going to be juicy enough for my under eyes. The second product I stumbled upon, it's a mask. It's the Purifying Mud Mask Clear and Mattify. I'm pretty sure this is a repackage of the mask I've had tons of samples of that I never actually purchased because I was trying to use the stuff I already had, and that's the only reason why I haven't pulled the trigger on this. This retails for $16, so they're not super expensive on the spectrum of Sephora's offerings. And I'm good with that. I just know that I can't buy it right now until I've used up real products that I have. But in my fantasy world, that wouldn't matter. I could just blow money on products willy-nilly, and I would definitely want to get this one. I also would definitely pick up from Fresh their Rose Petal Soft Deep Hydration Lip Balm. I don't know why, but when I saw this launch, the product pictures that they put out for their campaign just make this product look magical. The texture of it looks amazing. The rose nature of it suckers me in. And I'm not a Fresh person. Most of the products I've tried from Fresh, I've been like, yeah, it's nice, but I don't think it's worth the money, or it doesn't do it for me. So for this to have pulled me in says something. It retails for $24, which is pricey, But I'm willing to pay that for the Laneige Slip Sleeping Mask. In all truth, I would totally pay full price for that one. So I'm curious to see how this would compete. Again, your girl's not in the need for this kind of product, which is why I have not prior purchased this, but it's definitely in the running when I'm ever in a place to buy lip balms. Item number 4, oh, this product I really didn't expect to like, but based on a sample, wanted to have. It's the Drunk Elephant, I think it's Sly Makeup Melting Butter Cleanser. This I happened to get as like an add-on freebie, and it has converted me over to cleansing balms. I'm now trying the Good Molecules one because it's just cheaper. This retails for $34, and I know a lot of people on YouTube have said price per ounce or price per amount of product you get makes this one of the more reasonable cleansing balms to purchase from both drugstore and high-end. But it's still hefty. I'm still trying to figure out, how many uses or how long a cleansing balm will last me so I can better understand the cost long term. So I'm not quite there yet with this, but the sample was awesome. Why I like this product so much is the only other cleansing balm I tried was from the Body Shop like 100 years ago, probably 6 years ago at this point, and it clouded up my eyes. It left like a weird residue on my skin. Wasn't a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie, a cleansing balm itself wouldn't be my only cleansing product. I've definitely adopted it as like a first cleanse and then I do a second cleanse. I'm just very weird about texture, and even the texture of this, though it's very soft and enjoyable, I still didn't feel like my face was truly clean, and so I went in with more of my like acne based wash, which I feel like does make my skin feel genuinely cleaned off. But this stuff is very nice. I would definitely want to purchase it. Final skincare product is from a company called Peace Out. I have used their acne dots, and when this came across my Sephora app one day when I was just like popping into Sephora to check for something else, I was really intrigued by it. It's called the Salicylic Acid Acne Treatment Serum. Why I'm very curious about this is because it sounds similar to my current blemish serum, which is from Avology. That stuff is super expensive though. It is $28 for half an ounce, and I go through it in about, I wanna say, a 6-week time period. It's not great. It's not a great price point. This is like a little better. You basically get twice as much product for $34. So essentially you get twice as much for, $6 more. But I'm curious about it. So it definitely is something that I think when I'm in the market for a serum, I might want to try this one out and see if it could at least edge out the Avology one, which would slightly decrease my cost per year with skincare. All right, now let's talk about the 5 makeup products that I would want to purchase. The first 2 are primers. I have both an eyeshadow primer and a face primer that I'd want to pick up. The eye primer that I'm interested in is the Kat Von D or KVD Vegan Beauty Shake Primer High Impact Invisible Eyeshadow Primer. This is very intriguing as a concept. It basically is a dual layer, like half clear, half black. You're supposed to shake it up to mix it together. Eye primer. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it on YouTube, which I'm not overly surprised by because I feel like this brand, even though Kat Von D is no longer a part of it, is still very blacklisted. But this product is intriguing to me, and I would be curious to know like why it's this way. Does it actually make a difference? How does it stack up? It's also $22, and I haven't been really interested in a high-end eyeshadow primer since I realized how great drugstore primers are. So that's why I think this is super fun fantasy makeup, and I probably won't buy it in real life, but very much intrigued by it and would love to hear some kind of reviews on it. For face primer, I'm going with the Beauty Blender, the Leveler Pore Minimizing Primer. I've very much enjoyed the sample that I had from a like little deluxe size. I don't know where it came from, but I was very pleased to use it. It's very similar to the Professional from Benefit, but it doesn't feel like as thick when you put it on your face. In my opinion, it feels a little bit thinner, but the effects are the exact same. For this, it is 1 ounce for $32. I think the Professional is the same price point, but maybe a little bit less product. So I'm very intrigued to see what a full size would be like. I have 2 eyeshadow palettes in this. It was very funny to me because I thought, oh, I would definitely like throw in a bunch of eyeshadow palettes, and I truly went on Sephora's site and filtered for every eyeshadow palette that they have on their website. And there were only 2, truly 2, that the fantasy self would want to purchase. The first is from Natasha Denona. and that is the Gold Eyeshadow Palette. This is a palette, I should have talked about it last summer when I filmed like palettes I've always wanted but will probably never buy kind of thing. This palette, I'm surprised didn't make it on that list because I drool over this color scheme. I think that these colors are just made for the ginger pale people of the world. I just think it's a beautiful color scheme. I think the quality of the shadows from the many videos I've watched about it are just phenomenal. But I, in good faith, do not believe I could ever spend $125 on a single eyeshadow palette. And I also think, practically speaking, I don't know if I could ever really pan that palette, and if I spent $125 on it, you can bet your buns I would be panning that thing from top to bottom. But there is so much product in that palette. I just don't think it's a necessary amount of product. I've noticed with Natasha Denona, because I pay close attention to basically all of her releases and have just never pulled the trigger, that there's been a clear shift in taking her eyeshadow palettes and just making them smaller, significantly smaller, and that also leads to a half price reduction of $65. I would love it if this palette could be repackaged and offered in the smaller format. Like, keep every shade the same, just give me half the amount of product, and if it were $65, I would have a super hard time passing it up. I just think that this is a beautiful palette. I do know, I'm pretty sure it's Alter Ego sells like a dupe of this for $16. It is likely I will probably end up purchasing that palette by the end of the year or asking for it for Christmas, because I can't with this color scheme. I've just been obsessed with it for so long that I feel like I just want to pull the trigger on it, but it's not going to be at this price point. This price point is insane. The second palette is another brand that I have like watched from the sidelines for a long time and just have never pulled the trigger on it, and that is Viseart. The palette that most recently I've been pulled into is the Paris Edit eyeshadow palette. It retails for $39, which in the scope of Viseart is not that terrible of a price point. And then the scope of eyeshadow palettes is not that hefty of a price point. It's very comparable, especially from where Viseart like first started. I just love the coolness of this. I don't mean the cool factor, I mean the cool tones. It's got like cool taupes in here. It's got some cool purples. I just am very pulled into that color scheme. Again, I haven't pulled the trigger on it because I'm trying super hard these days to not acquire eyeshadow palettes, but to really get a lot of use out of what I have. If I was ever in a position where I dwindled my eyeshadow palette collection and to a point where I felt like I could then comfortably purchase a couple of palettes, this one might be the one that I would go for, but for now, it stays a fantasy. I then decided that I would really want to treat myself to a foundation. It's a foundation that I had a couple of times and then like intervened with myself and told myself that I just could not afford to have a foundation at this price point and use it on a regular basis. And that is the YSL Touche Éclat Le Tint Radiance Awakening Foundation. This foundation is just gold in a bottle. I essentially love it for so many reasons. I love the longevity of it. No matter how like sweaty I get or how dry I am, like no matter what, it holds on your face and it just looks beautiful. Like it's a very adaptive foundation in my opinion. The second thing I love about it is that it is nice coverage but doesn't look heavy. It really goes over your skin, covers up blemishes, and just makes your skin look like gold without you thinking, oh wow, get a lot of foundation on your face, or oh wow, that's a really thick foundation. That's not the case with this one. This one is just wonderful. The only downside of it is that it retails for $54 for, ready for this, 1 ounce. That is insane. And when I was really using it, I actually finished one of them off in a project pan. When I was really using it every single day, I flew through it. I flew through that product. So I know if I were using that as my only foundation, I probably would go through easily 3 or 4 bottles a year, if not more. And just right there, that's $200. If I went through 4 bottles, that's $200. That's a ton of money. And your girl can't afford that. Teaching is not where the money is. So that's not going to be a life that I lead. But if I had $1,000 to spend, I would spend it on this. Ooh, I lied. I have one more makeup product that Fantasy Self would like, and it's a bronzer. It is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer Mini. Yes, even in my fantasy life, I still would only purchase minis of bronzers, blushes, and highlighters if I could. And I didn't know this. I have liked this product probably for 6 years. I have thought about it for 6 years and have just never pulled the trigger on it. But now that I know that it's in a mini form, you guys, I'm gonna have a hard time passing it up because as a mini, it feels reasonable. It's $26. I would get obviously the Luminous Bronze Light, which is the lightest shade they have. It's meant for the pale people of the world. And I just loved it as a bronzer when I had it. I had purchased a long time ago when Hourglass first did their like Christmas, I think it was 3 blushes, maybe it was 4 blushes, a highlighter and a bronzer, all in like a little palette. What are their ambient edit palettes, whatever they called those. The first one that they came out with, I purchased it and I wasn't impressed enough with it to want to keep it for the, I think like at that time, 65, maybe it was $80. It was expensive. Either way, I didn't keep it, but I always loved the bronzer and I wasn't going to keep it for just the bronzer. And when I saw the bronzer price point, I think full size is like $56. And I wasn't going to buy a $56 bronzer. So I sort of let it die, but in the back of my head, it was always there. So now that I know that I have a mini size of it, yeah, it's been added to the loves list. And we'll see if I resist as I peel through the rest of my bronzer collection. All right, now we come to the final 2 products, which is hard to believe that just the final 2 products will get me to the $9.97 amount of money. First thing I would get is a body product. This is something that I tried as a sample, and based on the sample, I would have loved to purchase the full size, but this is before I knew the pricing of stuff at Sephora, and after getting the sample and seeing the price tag of the full price, I couldn't do it. It is the Clarins Body Fit Anti-Cellulite Contouring Expert. It retails, ready for this, for $71. That's insane. But I truly believe that when I was using it, the sample that I had, it genuinely was making a difference on the stretch marks that are on my thighs. I was seeing like a lessening down of the coloration of them, which made them less noticeable. I would have loved to see, and I would still love to see, what a full size would accomplish, but not at that price point. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of money for 6.9 ounces of product. So I will not be purchasing that anytime soon. My final product is a hair product. I know we've talked a lot about my hair inabilities on my channel. I don't really know a lot about styling. You guys only see me hair gel my hair in the summer and then straighten it in the winter. I have tried a dozen different types of curling wands. I can't curl my hair. I can't really do it in any kind of fun updos. It's basically just bun and ponytail down. Those are my 3 options for hairstyling. So to hear me put a product in my cart for a styling purpose tells you something. The final product that I would put into my fantasy cart, and it's an absolute fantasy, is the Dyson Corral Hair Straightener. I was very interested in the concept of this when it came out. I knew in my heart of hearts I would never buy it because it retails for, oh yes, $499, which is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous price. And I was a little bit surprised by that price simply because the hair dryer that they came out with, which has like a bunch of accessories, all of those together, I'm pretty sure still retail for less than this single hair straightener. So that was a little bit weird. That kind of put me off. And then the reviews that I saw of people were just sort of like, yeah, it's nice. And I was like, girl, had you actually spent money on that and not have it sent to you in PR, would you feel like it was just nice? Like, no one was really saying anything in the many reviews that I watched that made me think like, yeah, this is a tool that like everybody needs. But still, I'm interested. And for me, I feel like I could really give an in-depth review on it because I have been straightening my hair basically most of my life and as my singular way of styling my hair. And I've used a number of different flat iron tools to accomplish that. Like, I would be very curious to know or see if it was that superior. Like, I know it's cordless and that's cool and I think that would be nice and it's got like the nice fun stand, but like when it gets down to the nuts and bolts, is it really that superior and different? Because I'll tell you, I don't think Chi hair straighteners are worth the price tag. So I'm really, I think, curious about it because I just feel like I'm very knowledgeable on hair straighteners, and I would really like to know what would make this so superior, or if it's not superior at all. So in my fantasy self, where I could just easily blow the money and not like or be worried about it and just want to test it out for funsies and see how it goes, I would definitely blow the cash on that. I'm very, very, very curious about it myself. All right, guys, so there you have it. All 13 products that add up to a total of $997, which in my fantasy world, I would happily spend my moolah on. I'd be so curious to know what one or all the products you would buy if you yourself had $1,000, just a free $1,000 to spend at Sephora. No two videos like this are alike that I have watched. I think there is so much variety that can come out of this, so I'm super, super curious. I hope that you enjoyed hearing what I would spend my money on, and I'll talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.